You're watching The Point. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, the newly restructured China Search and Rescue is presented its first overseas test to assist the cyclone victims in Mozambique. I'll talk to team members to hear their eyewitness account. Stay with me. For the Chinese rescuers recently sent to Africa, its mission accomplished. On March the 15th, the deadly cyclone Idai slammed into the southeastern coast of Africa, directly striking Mozambique as well as neighboring Zimbabwe and Malawi. The impact has been devastating. More than 1,000 people killed and over 4,000 cases of cholera reported so far. Unable to respond alone, the Mozambican authorities put out a call for help, and China's newly created Ministry of Emergency Management dispatched its first overseas team of search and rescue and medical specialists. But the mission also symbolized something more. China, in recent years, has emerged as a major contributor to international assistance. Now that the Chinese team has returned to Beijing, they can explain in person what did they focus on during their critical mission, and what does this debut mission say about the future of China's international aid and cooperation. I'm pleased to be joined in the studio by two members of that team. Wang Manda, the Deputy Team Leader, who is the Deputy Director General of the Department of International Cooperation for the China Earthquake Administration, which is now also within China's new Ministry of Emergency Management, and Fu Jie, the rescue team's liaison officer, who is the Chief of Staff at the Tongzhou District Department of the Beijing Fire and Rescue Brigade, which is also within the new Ministry of Emergency Management's Fire and Rescue Bureau. Gentlemen, welcome to The Point. It's indeed a great pleasure to have both of you here in our studio to share with us your story. So a quick timeline of what happened. 9 days basically after Cyclone Idai hit these countries, the team set off for Mozambique, and you spent altogether 10 days there and only came back on the 4th of April. Yes. I understand there are 65 members of that team, and you brought with you 20 tons of supplies and equipment. So tell us a bit about the composition of this team. Which members come from which divisions of the Chinese government, and what were your major responsibilities, Mr. Wang?
We have 65 members, and all from the Ministry of Emergency Management of the People's Republic of China. Mm-hmm. And mainly composed of, I think it's 4 parts: the medicals, the search and rescuers. So mostly the water rescue. It's the first time we brought the rubber boats. Mm. And the third one is the logistics for supplying and the communication. And the fourth one is the liaison groups, which I led, composed of 5 members. So Fujie is one of the liaison group. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. What were your major responsibilities? I mean, you went there 9 days after the cyclone hit. Were you involved in the rescue of survivors, or were you involved in some other major work?
Time when we arrived, actually search and rescue already finished. Mm-hmm. So mostly our job is medical, for the medical treatment for the victims, the people affected. Mm-hmm. Yes. And also we have a task for the transportation of the people from the isolated place to a city area to the hospitals. Yeah. And also we transport the goods, the food and water and the medicines to the remote people in the remote place. Mm-hmm. Also for the sanitation, right?
Yes. The health and the sanitation problems are very serious. Back then, we sent people to do the sanitation and decontamination in the neighborhood, for specifically in Mbuzi, and also in neighboring place called Muniaba. It's all neighborhoods within the city of Bela. It's where the city was hit by the cyclone the most. Mm-hmm. So that's basically where we worked back in the 10 days in the region.
Was it the first time that this team, that you have been to Mozambique, and how bad was the situation when you arrived there? Mr. Fu?
This is definitely the first time we went to carry out our missions. And back then, when we arrived at the Bela, which is in Portuguese is the city. The word means beautiful. But what we saw was devastating. More than 80 and 90% of the buildings were destroyed or roofless, and water is everywhere, and people are living in IDP camps without food, without clean water. And so it's pretty serious.
Without medicine.
Without medicine, definitely.
How did you carry out your work then? As you said, the priority of your team is to provide medical help and to help sanitize, to clean some of the devastated areas. If there is no medicine, what did you do?
Well, when we first arrived, actually the most difficult thing for us is to find a place to work. Since the coordination work is under the government and the United Nations, so we find them and we ask for jobs, and they gave us tasks. For example, the second day I led a team, had a surveillance of 12 resettlement centers, actually all the schools for the people affected, and we selected one for the field hospital for the next 5 days. So very, very important to find a place to work. And also...
Who provided this field hospital? Did you bring it with you, or did you set up there? What was the story behind that?
Well, we brought the equipment and the tents, and we have doctors, so we set up the field hospital in one place.
We help the locals to set up the small clinic, not exactly the hospital, but in IDP camps. And we went there every day, provide some medical attention, and also give some food, water as well as we could. That's what we did.
Yeah, I saw media reports which say that your team treated over 3,300 patients and sanitized 330,000 square meters of disaster-hit areas. So if you divide that by 10 days, let's say, that's on average 330 patients treated and 33,000 square meters sanitized. How is it possible?
Well, this time is quite lucky. For we set up our camp in one hotel run by a Chinese company, and this saved a lot of energy and personnel from this team. We can send much more teams outside to work this time. Usually we can send only 1 or 2 teams previously, but this time we can send up to 5 teams worked at the same time together. So we worked really hard this time.
How about coordination, liaison work in terms of coordinating with not just the local Chinese community, definitely, but the Mozambican government, the United Nations, and then maybe possibly other international rescue teams, Mr. Fu?
Well, the first was pretty challenging because the scale of the disaster was so massive. And not only the local government, but also the United Nations have no quite the same, the whole idea of all the disasters. So what we do is that we coordinate with them every day, and we try to do the job in the field, and we gather the information as much as we could and report back, and we share that with other teams, and also the United Nations and also local governments. So we were trying to put out a general picture of the whole disaster, and we got better every day. And by the time we almost left, we almost get a whole idea of the whole scale and the help we needed.
Throughout this process, what would you say, Mr. Wang, as the biggest challenge, and how did you overcome that?
Well, biggest challenge, I think, is quite many. Maybe it's not called the biggest. For example, this time you had an epidemic situation, it's cholera and malaria. It's the first time. Last 18 years, China also sent the international search and rescue team overseas, but never met with an epidemic situation. And this time is one of them. It's kind of dangerous to the team members, because the first principle for the international search and rescue is to protect the members themselves first.
Yeah. How did you do?
Well, we have procedures, sanitation, and they're quite strict procedures. And the second difficulty is it's the first time sent by the Ministry of Emergency Management of China overseas. It's the ministry only formed last year, so this year we send a team. We need to coordinate all parts of the sub-organizations under the ministry to make this happen. So I think it's a kind of challenge.
Yeah. So basically, not only you were talking about the Ministry of Emergency Management, because this ministry gathered all the functions in emergency management from different previous government departments. So this is basically the first time that the system is put to test, right? How efficiently did it work?
I think quite effective and efficient, because we already have exercise 2 times since in last 12 months. We have it's almost exercise, right?
Yes.
One is to Laos, one is to Indonesia. We tried. We prepared. We had prepared, and it's a very success. I think it's a very good exercise for this one.
In terms of working with the United Nations, Mr. Fu, you are in charge of the liaison. I understand that this was very much under the coordination of OCHA, which is the Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. How was the process working together with them, and what was China's role in the entire international effort?
Well, like Mr. Wang just said, that we actually follow the book. By the book, I mean the International Search and Rescue Guideline. We use that as reference when we train ourselves, and also we in the field, we follow the procedures. So that makes us we are in the same page with our colleagues and also counterparts from different countries. And also in the field, the United Nations is very coordinated and very organized, and which is very efficient for us and for the relief work. So we do exactly what we were told, and we coordinated very well, and we report to the government, and we have the support from locals. To
the Chinese government or to the Mozambican? To both governments.
But in the field, more like to the Mozambique government.
Yeah.
We would like them to know that what we were doing, and what they can get from our help.
How is your work received by the local partners, for instance, the local government or the local people? And you treated so many people. You were also received by Mozambican President Nyusi after your mission. So what has been the reaction to your work there?
Well, I would say that we are one of the first teams. By our arrival, there are already a couple of teams over there working, and from what I saw is that the people there, they're very friendly with the Chinese, and they can recognize our flag, our uniform, and they even can speak some Chinese with us.
We have volunteer.
We even have a local volunteer. I mean, it's a Mozambique who speak fluent Chinese, and she was a member in our team as a work at the volunteer for us. And she went out every day with us to the IDP camps, provide help, and she studied medical in China. So she was a doctor, so which is very helpful.
Yeah.
And it's very evident that our both countries are very close.
I understand Mozambican President Nyusi is expected to attend the second Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Actually, I'm slated to interview him in person. So, Mr. Wang, how do you see this mission facilitate the further strengthening of bilateral ties between China and Mozambique? And also, as China put so much resources, so much emphasis in developing relations with African countries in general, what does that mean for this mission to be completed?
Well, China team selected as a representative from international search and rescue teams to be received by the President of Mozambique. We feel quite honored, and it's an honor to us. It's an honor to the international teams, and I think this team, this rescue mission, I think, greatly improved the ongoing relationship between China and Mozambique. And this team, the mission, is very different from aiding goods and financial support is very different. When our team members wearing our uniform, standing on the ground soil of the Mozambique, face to face to the victims, it's very different. Impact and the influence is totally different. So I think from this aspect, it improved our relationship with Mozambique.
Okay, I got your point. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Mr. Wang Manda, Deputy Team Leader, and Fu Jie, the team's Liaison Officer. I just want to say that China not only sent a team from Beijing to Mozambique, but also donated $800,000 US and $300,000 US respectively to Zimbabwe and Malawi respectively, and medical teams were also dispatched to these countries to help with their relief and rescue work. So with that, we come to the end of this special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle The Point with LX. Download the application called CGTN to watch the show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN The Point. Thanks for watching. You've got The Point.